News from across the Federation, spanning the region and covering the globe. This is the KyssFM SKN News Now Morning Edition, your one true source for news. And now your presenter.
Good morning. Today is Monday, 19th March 2018. I am your presenter, Javon Library, and these are your top stories. Nationally, 3 shootings, 1 deadly, mar the weekend. Internationally, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince says Iran's supreme leader is very much like Hitler. And in sport, the historic Winter Paralympics in South Korea have ended. We'll also look at today's weather update, forecast, and Carib update. Now for a look at the news in detail. Police are investigating a number of shootings, 1 deadly, all of which occurred over the weekend. At about 9:15 p.m. on Friday, officers responded to a shooting incident in Taylor's housing, which is being investigated as an attempted homicide. In this first Friday night shooting, police say 35-year-old Hannibal Basu and a companion were entering a home when an unknown gunman opened fire. Both men ran to escape the attack, however Basu was shot several times. Basu was transported to the Joseph and France General Hospital, where he was treated and is now listed in stable condition. About 20 minutes later on that same night, this time in Newton Ground, another shooting victim was not as fortunate to escape with his life. 41-year-old Glenville Francis was discovered on the ground near the railway tracks with a gunshot wound to his upper body. He was pronounced dead at the scene by the district medical officer. Police responded to the incident after concerned Newton Ground residents reported hearing several gunshots fired. So far, what is known for certain is that Francis was walking in the area when the attack occurred. It is unclear how many persons were involved in the attack. Just hours later on Saturday morning, police found themselves conducting yet another investigation into an attempted murder in Stapleton Village, St. Peters. At about 9 o'clock in the morning, 24-year-old Ricardo Jeffers became the 3rd weekend shooting victim following an argument which became violently heated. It is reported that after a gun was drawn during the fight and shots were fired, Jeffers attempted to escape but was hit in the side by a bullet. He was treated at the JNF hospital and is in stable condition. 2 persons have been taken into police custody in connection with this incident. An appeal has been made by police officers for persons with information regarding any of these incidents to come forward. Residents of St. Peters and surrounding areas are up in arms with the water department as issues with the availability of water persist. Following 1 month of rationing water in February, the water department announced on Sunday, 18th March, a new water schedule that outlined new water rationing measures for the St. Peters, New Road Gillads, Pine Gillads, and Shadwell communities. The water department has been under heavy scrutiny from the public since 2017 after several issues within the department were exposed, along with complaints by customers who have endured long periods without water in their homes. Minister of Public Utilities Honorable Ian Patches Library has also been chastised for avoiding to respond to and act on the complaints. In February this year, Lennox Library, a supporter of the People's Action Movement and the Team Unity government, accused Minister Library of being responsible for the unfortunate situation in which several communities across St. Kitts now suffer from an inadequate supply of potable water. Lennox made reference to the contract between the former government, led by the Right Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas, and Bedrock Exploration and Development, BEAD, which would have made available an additional 2.5 million gallons of potable water daily during periods of drought. He continued that after 3 years, the Team Unity government has failed to connect the wells found by BEAD to St. Kitts water system. Lennox added that he is aware that BEAD found water sources in Shadwell and Old Road, which have been awaiting approval from Minister Library to be connected. Internationally, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince has out on Iran, accusing it of wanting to expand its power in the Middle East. Mohammed bin Salman made the comments during an interview with the CBS News program 60 Minutes ahead of a trip to Washington this week. Bin Salman compared the supreme leader of Iran with Adolf Hitler, the leader of Nazi Nazi Germany. Rosalind Jordan reports.
For 30 minutes on Sunday, the U.S. news program 60 Minutes profiled the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. He's meeting this week with President Donald Trump and with financial officials in New York. For Americans who don't pay much attention to foreign affairs, the impression of the 32-year-old man slated to be king one day may well be a positive one. He's trying to turn Saudi Arabia's oil-based economy into one that's more diversified. He favors religious and social reforms, and he wants women to have more rights.
We have extremists who forbid mixing between the two sexes and are unable to differentiate between a man and a woman alone together and their being together in a workplace. Many of those ideas contradict the way of life during the time of the Prophet and the Caliphs.
The presenter asked MBS about Saudi Arabia's poor human rights record and about his country's air war against Houthis in Yemen, a war that has caused a humanitarian crisis. But MBS was most forthcoming about the existential threat he sees from Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei.
He wants to create his own project in the Middle East, very much like Hitler, who wanted to expand at the time. Many countries around the world and in Europe did not realize how dangerous Hitler was until what happened happened. I don't want to see the same events happening in the Middle East.
Not mentioned during the segment, the Saudi-led economic and political blockade against Qatar, now in its 10th month. The possibility of diplomatic relations with Israel, or the war in Syria. Analysts say the interview is revealing in one significant way.
I think that his instinct to blame everything on Iran, from domestic problems in Saudi Arabia to the region, was quite striking. And to rewrite history, that somehow the problems in Saudi Arabia only started in 1979, erases the fact that his relative, King Faisal, was assassinated in 1975 for bringing television to the kingdom and allowing girls to go to school. This is not a problem that started with Iran. This is a problem inside Saudi Arabia, inside the ruling family in Saudi Arabia, that Mohammed bin Salman is really trying to erase, and it comes out pretty clear in this interview.
The Crown Prince wants Saudi Arabia to be the most powerful country in the Middle East, and he wants to make sure the U.S. is in his country's corner. All the more reason, then, to make an appeal to the court of U.S. public opinion.
And in sport, the Winter Paralympics have wrapped up in Pyeongchang, South Korea. It marks the end of historic Winter Games, which saw North and South Korea uniting at the Olympics and North Korean athletes participating in their first Winter Paralympics. Kathy Novak reports.
Just over 5 weeks ago, athletes and visitors arrived in this snowy region of South Korea for the Winter Games. Now that much of the snow has melted and the final medals have been awarded, it's time to say farewell, with a closing ceremony for the biggest ever Winter Paralympics. About 570 athletes from 49 countries took part, including for the first time in a Winter Paralympics, North Korea. The show of unity started with athletes from both Koreas marching under a unified flag at the Olympic opening ceremony. They helped to make these the Peace Olympics that the South Korean government had hoped for.
The Olympics acted as the path that led to Donald Trump and Kim Jong-un agreeing to hold talks, and Korea became a driving force behind promoting peace.
It felt like a really big deal. A lot of people have said that the Winter Games led to the easing of inter-Korea ties, which is very positive, and I feel great about it.
South Koreans enthusiastically supported the Paralympics with record-breaking ticket sales, but many complained they couldn't watch Korean athletes competing because of a lack of television coverage.
It was difficult to tell our children who was competing at the Paralympics and with what kind of disability. It's hard to find out if it's not in the media, so that was a bit disappointing.
Petitions to the president led to broadcasters showing more Paralympic events. It's hoped these Paralympics will help improve conditions for people with disabilities in South Korea. Here in the host city, organizers built and upgraded facilities to help make them more accessible. But around the country, older buildings, narrow pathways, and uneven surfaces can make getting around challenging for those with impairments. There are issues being shared with the host cities of the next Summer and Winter Games, Tokyo and Beijing.
So we want to take advantage of the fact that we are staying here in Asia for a decade to really improve accessibility, but also the way people perceive persons with an impairment, because it's not only about physical structures, it's about mentality.
As the International Paralympic Committee president closed this celebration, he paid tribute to the renowned scientist Stephen Hawking, who passed away on Wednesday, and like the athletes here, refused to allow his disability to hold him back.
And now for a look at today's weather forecast. Conditions today will be partly sunny, becoming cloudy during the afternoon with a 50% of moderate chance of some light showers. Tonight will be mostly clear. Over the course of the day, winds will come from the southeast to southeast at 4 to 12 miles per hour, becoming lighter and variable or calm in some places tonight. Seas are slight to moderate heights, 0.9 to 1.5 meters or 3 to 5 feet. The sea level pressure is 1013.3 millibars. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:16 a.m. The sun will set today at 6:22 p.m. That item brings us to the end of KyssFM SKN News Now Morning Edition. Now for a recap of this morning's top stories. Nationally, 3 shootings, 1 dead, the weekend. Internationally, Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince says Iran's supreme leader is very much like Hitler. And in sport, the historic Winter Paralympics in South Korea have ended. Thanks for tuning in for another SKN News Now presentation. Stay tuned, Carib Update comes up next.